Well, good morning. I have two really good friends of mine. One of them I've known for a long time, right, Tim? And a newer friend, Michael Hannon. And so we have Tim Renegar, Michael Hannon. And guys, thank you very much for taking time to join the show. The show's name is Next Week's Life. And that's kind of a derivative of a Frank Sinatra, That's Life. And we tried to keep the name of the show consistent with anything Frank Sinatra. So anytime you want to throw a song in or you want to do a couple of numbers, just let me know. But thank you very much for taking the time to join us. I'm actually kind of excited about this because it's a little bit of a learning experience for me as well. Although I've come to know FP mailing and all the things that you do, Michael, I think there's a whole lot more that I need to learn, and certainly the industry does. So if you don't mind, I'm going to turn it over to you, Michael, and then followed by Tim to introduce yourself, your company, and how did you get to this place?
Well, thanks a lot, Mike, and Tim for joining this morning and for having us on the show. So I'm Michael Hannon. I'm the Managing Director for FP Mailing Solutions for North America. I've been with FP a little over 15 years. So I started as an inside sales rep, handling customers calling in to break their contracts and try to cancel out and move on somewhere else. So that is where I had kind of kicked off my tenure here at FP and have worked my way through most of the different various sales roles, inside, outside, and then through other operations, finance areas. And well, then in March of 20, as the rest of the world was shutting down, I had took over the helm here for North America, which was wonderful and exciting. But it was a great learning curve to get in, and I got to say, with everybody not really knowing what was going on, it was a fantastic leveler. So that played really well. Not to say that I had enjoyed that, but it really was a great learning experience, and we've come out of it really very soundly. So we were solid in 20 over 19, and 21, 22, we have continued to grow double digits both years. So it has been really quite great.
Wow.
Prior to coming to FP, I had been in the credit card industry. So I had worked for a credit card, worked for a processor, done with a few banks, had worked with a few of the leasing partners we all currently work with now from there as well. And prior to that, politics and law, which I know will get a little dicey because it's Chicago politics too, and then I'm sure everybody's going to flip the podcast off at this point. So I'll leave that be and not really get into it too much then. I had worked through college, law school, working on campaigns, and then a few of my own as well. So really kind of that big veer from that politics and law into then, credit cards and now, well, mail. So that's how I landed here over the past 20 years or so, 20, 25 years.
Well, congratulations on that journey, and it's nice to see you have a great sense of timing. Let me take the big job just as COVID and everything else hits.
And hey, when the opportunity comes, Mike, you don't pass it, right? So
you grab it, you run with it, and look what you did, double-digit growth. And by the way, Chicago is my hometown, so it's okay. I was born and raised there. My brothers still live there, and you don't want to get on a call with him. So Tim, you and I have gone back quite a few years, and it's been a wonderful friendship. I've watched your many contributions to not just your own company, but your service to BTA and frankly, all the good things that come out of BTA. So I know you probably prefer to be speaking with Jenna, but she's out doing something else right now. So
no
Tim,
question, Mike, no question.
So why don't you, if you would, give us a little bit of your journey and how long you've been doing what you're doing. Should be fun for the audience to know.
Well, I don't know if you've got quite enough time to hear my entire journey. I've been doing this for 48 years. This June was my 48th year in the business. So I did start very young. Just want to get that out of the way. I went to 1 year of college and then decided I couldn't live without her, and we got married. And I put her through school, and then she was going to put me back through school. By then, I was already selling copy machines. And I was making a very good living in 74, selling copy machines. And we couldn't really afford for me to go back to school and maintain the new house and 2 new cars. So that's kind of where it started, and I was with a family-owned dealership up until 1992, and we sold to Alco Standard, which I became part of the mom group, and then we became Icon, and I moved to Eastern North Carolina and ran everything east of Raleigh, four offices there, and then moved myself back up here and started Triad Business Solutions with a great dear friend, Cal Carduce. And Cal and I he had about a $15.5 million company when I first got in with him. And we grew it exponentially over the next few years and merged Triad Business Solutions in with the Charlotte Copy Data Network and then sold to Sharp. We were the largest acquisition Sharp had ever made of the private ones. And I stayed on and worked with Sharp as president for 2.5 of a 3-year contract. And, things looked a little greener for me to be out of the corporate world where I could make my own call. And so at that point, little funny story, I was home for 1 week, Mike. 1 week, and you've met my wife, only 5'2". And she said, after 1 week, I was going, we need to do this. We got to get this done. I don't know why the house, we don't, and still in boss mode. I was, used to running 300 people. And she came at the end of the week, Friday. We didn't even make it Saturday of the first week. And she pulled me down to her chest and her face, and she said, I love you, but you need a job. And so I ended up with Kelly Office Solutions at that point in time, and we've had a great ride since. It's been a phenomenal journey. I've been here 12 years, and it's been a lot of fun. November is my 12th year here. And we had 16 employees. Now I think we're pushing 78, at one point we had 96 right after the Rico Miff acquisition, but we're back right size now to around 80 employees. It varies here and there. So that's kind of my tour of duty up to this point.
Well, congratulations on surviving that lecture from your wife. I know your wife, and I could see that happening. She's very strong-willed woman. We love that, so that's good. And congratulations on these past 12 years. So, gentlemen, one of the reasons why you're both here, I'm a copier guy who basically became whatever copier guys finally become with IT and AI and everything that we're doing right now. It's kind of curious to me. The past few years, everyone knows the challenges that we've had to face, both as human beings and copy machine dealers or imaging channel people. But FP mailing seems to be that dark horse that continues to run and run fast. And you two guys obviously share this relationship. So I'd like to go back to Michael. And Michael, coming not out of the copy machine business, what should a copy machine dealer, if I could say it that way, and that's really not that's a disservice to the dealers right now, but call them, workplace service providers. Yep. So what should they be looking at with your product, your solution? What's the upside for them today?
So if I may, Mike, go back just a little, the company as a whole, the industry, the market, because that's what everybody's really looked for is what's the true opportunity to me, right? I mean, as anybody's looking to get into another product line, another venture, anything, any other part of the business, it's what good could it do to me, to my company, bring forward for my people. So FP, we are Franco-type Pistalia, but we use the moniker FP Mailing. It is a little bit easier than the German-Italian name. So we are a publicly traded entity on the European market. We operate in about 40 countries, and we are worldwide. So it is more of a look of, as we try even on our side to shift a little bit from just that mail to that full solutions provider too, right? Mailing, shipping, technology, really that whole look. But when we look at mail, because that is the core business in the US, that is still a very predominant business, because the first question I would ask back to most of the solution salespeople on the copier side would be, when that document is printed, where's it going? Some of it gets left on the tray, right? Some gets tossed out, some stays internal, but a good portion of that is going into the mail stream. So mail is still very relevant, and the industries that use it, most of the industries that we're in, a lot of the industries that copiers are in as well, are, I don't want to say recession proof, but as close as you can kind of get with legal, medical, school, government. These are all our high top verticals, and those are the main verticals that will continue to run even as things start to dip. So we've seen, of course, we've seen a little bit of a decline in mail. Everybody has, right? So looking at it, it has been, I think I have the number here, right. In 2021, it was almost 51 million pieces of mail. In 2020, it was 52 million. And in 2019, it was 54. So slight decline. COVID obviously did that little accelerator, but on the reverse side of it, parcels increased. Parcels went up 5 billion between 19 to 20. From 15
Wow.
billion pieces to 20 billion pieces, and in 21 it went to 21.5. So as people kind of shifted, the mail and the package shipping hasn't gone away. It's actually increasing. The largest provider is still the USPS, and for first class mail will be. They're the only option, but on the package side, they still have probably about a 20-25% increase over UPS, who's their next closest competitor. So as a copier rep goes in, mail usually goes hand in hand. Once it's printed, it's got to go somewhere. And through the rest of the documents and the equipments as well, it's not just the mail machine, and that's where I say the full solution provider. Folder inserters, addressers, software, everything that goes to making mail so it can go out to their end users. So there's a lot of identifiers and a lot of things that could be seen when going in as a just trying to sell a copier. There's so many other opportunities around in that business as well.
So how did you and Tim get together? And those numbers are kind of shocking to me, Michael. I mean, that's a dramatic shift, basically, to parcel, which I find really interesting given the COVID environment and everything else going on. But how
Well,
did
we
you
saw that
and
big
Tim-
boom, right, Mike, of the parcel lockers, then anything else. Everybody was doing their small shipping from home, everybody's Etsy store, eBay, selling online and selling from home. The mail machines in the workplace didn't really go away. There's still a little over 900,000 mail machines in the U.S.
Wow.
They're still fully operational, active, still going. But all these independent home businesses popped up, and they're all predominantly self-shippers and self-mailers, that it's a different avenue as well. So that has been the bigger boom, I think, on the parcel side.
So that's interesting because the work from home in that environment basically said, hey, I don't have access to my office, or I prefer working from home. The business grows out of there. They need their own mailing.
Yep.
Smart. That's a nice benefit. So Tim, how did you
It's helped
two?
great for me.
Yeah, it worked out. Well, there's been a lot of that, with the work from home changes. I've seen some interesting things there. This is one I hadn't thought of, which is great. So Tim, how did you and Michael get together, and how are you finding the past couple of years? Are your numbers going up as his are?
Well, Michael and I got together at a BTA event the first
Yes, we
time.
did.
And FP has been a very huge proponent of BTA and has been supportive and been there. And I think Michael has gotten results, or he quit going clearly. So you make a lot of connections at these BTA events, and I think it was a Great America dinner, maybe in Orlando, and that they invited us all to go together, and we all had a chance to meet and talk. And I think my first thing was being just kind of flippant. I said, Michael, just sell me a postage machine. I'll put it in the office, because I was tired of dealing with Pitney Bowes or whomever it might have been at that particular point in time. He said, why don't I talk to you about better than that? Why don't you become, And I said, well, then I was being picky. I said, well, just let me be a distributor for the Southeast. Maybe that'd be the right thing to do, because, I can't be just simple. So, but eventually we finally worked it out, and we came to, he showed me the real benefits of being in this business, and it goes so hand in glove with what we do. I mean, we want to facilitate information movement within businesses. That's really what we do. That's all we've ever done. And this is one more piece that we were just overlooking. And you thought of it as being sort of a Pitney Bowes niche, and they had it, and they do have, don't misunderstand that, a very large part of it. But like a lot of large corporations, they are somewhat inefficient and somewhat bureaucratic, and they're used to just flipping their base. They don't really know how to sell differences or advantages or anything like that, which our people are phenomenal at. And our people are great at packaging things into a lease portfolio that makes it look good. So we have a lot of things there that we can do and bring benefit to the customer and bring benefit to us too. Everything is in the middle of some lease cycle. Nothing is purchased outright hardly anymore. And it's just a matter of finding everything with where it is within that lease cycle and then rolling it into your existing leases.
That's a big proponent for us to make sure that we have another offering for you to go into. Well, yes, another solution for your customer, and that you're able to provide that as a one-stop shop for them, right? Kind of round out everything for them because, yes, as you say too, Pitney is, of course, the giant in the industry, right? As they're sitting at about 75% market share. Quadient, the other competitor, is at about that 15 or so mark, a little less, and then we are bringing up the remainder at just under 10. So that is another benefit on our side is there's really only three manufacturers in the U.S. that offer this product. So knowing who and what it is, it's the learning curve on the products makes it a little bit easier. Having the meter portion and us being federally regulated, a little not as great, but it is still something that, some of the lease companies, Great America has worked really well to tie everything in, make it a very easy solution for anybody to go out and sell as kind of a one total payment solution. And I think we work really very well all together to keep it as easy as we can for the dealer, the solution sales provider.
So, Michael, you obviously are enjoying success within the BTA channel. How many BTA dealers do you have, if you don't mind my asking, if that's public?
Ooh. We are in the U.S. We are right around 165 dealers, and I'd have to say that at a good probably 70% of them are maybe not as active with BTA, but are members and do participate in BTA. So it kind of goes both ways for us. If we have a dealer that comes on that doesn't attend BTAs, we push it out because we want them to come, see everybody else, see what everybody else has to offer as well, because a better solution for the dealer might not always be through us. They might have a need for a CRM, some other system, technology. They get exposed to that through BTA. So we try to bring those that aren't currently in our channel into the BTA channel as well. And then, yes, of course, while we're at the BTA, anybody else we can pick up as well and meet new friends with, we'll always do.
Well, I think Tim knows I'm a huge BTA fan, from Goldberg to Brent to Valerie to the board. I don't think you can find a better deal in any industry than the BTA membership. So I'm happy to see you continue to do that and grow that business. So when you look at your future, right? So we're in the fourth quarter well, we actually are in the fourth quarter now. It's November.
Yeah.
You had
The
a
year
good
just
year
blew
thus
by.
far. Yeah, it still boggles my mind. Honestly, it's incredible. But when both of you look at this fourth quarter, and I'm going to assume for a minute that you're on a calendar fiscal year.
It's my second quarter, Mike.
What's that?
It's my second quarter.
Oh, it's your second quarter. Okay.
It's my second quarter. Yeah.
All right.
But we
So
understand
my
for a
fault.
lot of businesses, it is their fourth quarter, and this is sometimes when they got to spend the money for the tax breaks and whatever. And it's so clearly we get all that.
So let's kind of rethink that. So just looking at the calendar year, regardless of if it's your fiscal year, some interesting challenges out there in the normal business, right? The core business with supply chain things and so on. Has there been any, do you see any of that influencing FP mailing for the rest of this calendar year? Or is it just, we don't have those challenges?
Thankfully for us, we have not had those challenges for our core products. The way we manufacture in just outside of Berlin in Wittenberg, Germany, and then we bring them in, and the way we bring them in through the East Coast, either through Boston, New York, direct to Chicago or through Canada, I thankfully have not had the same supply chain issues. We had delays with, of course, with the coming over the ocean in 2020 and 2019, but outside of that, as far as getting the product and getting it here and getting it on time has been fairly well for our own. Some of the products we do OEM, some of the other folder inserters, tabbers, things like that have had a little bit of an issue, just as everyone else, because, well, when it's one I don't control, it's a little harder to impact that.
So Tim, as a dealer, then it's a nice, consistent opportunity for revenue and profit that might offset some of the challenges on the core business. Is that safe to say?
Yes, absolutely. We see this as a steady, even revenue stream that we're building. We are relatively new with FP. Our people are getting acclimated to the program and getting ready to start moving into it pretty heavily. We have a very significant spiff on the equipment right now to get their attention. You know, there's only so much mind share you have with reps, and we are getting it now, and they see this as a way to open doors, because so many of our customers have them, but a lot of non-customers, and net new business is critical for every dealer. And this is a way to open the door to net new. And once you've shown them FP and you've got that opportunity, then it's very natural to start talking about the other offerings that we have. And it just flows right in. So we count on this, and we see this as a huge, not ancillary, but maybe a door opener to get us into places we haven't been before.
You know, it's interesting, gentlemen. Everyone's talking about artificial intelligence and the DX, transformation, digital transformation, and it's all absolutely essential to the growth of the industry. How do you see FP mailing in the sphere of digital transformation? Is it something that you incorporate into the ongoing and future product, or how do you interpret that?
So we have been developing and we have released on some instances. So as I talked about the shipping being kind of the biggest growth area, we have our own kind of parcel shipping platform that we've developed that is a web-based platform. So still able to be, it's a SaaS-based, so software as a service, anybody can go do it, dealers can sell it out, do it that way, but it's to pick up those other customers or perhaps that other part of the market, but with no longer necessarily always needing the physical box. So to help with the ROI, to push down, to then help for the other sales and anywhere else we can go. But as we start to look at some of the shipping and as you get into a bigger company, while they need that system, that operating system, they will still need the scales, the printers, and everything else. So there is still the opportunity for hardware. And a bigger digital pivot we've kind of taken is we're releasing our own digital signature product. So similar to that of, VeriSign or Adobe, to have our own digital signature product, because we're all contract based. Everything we do that somebody's got to sign, touch a piece of paper. So we needed it internally, but since we developed our own, well, why not then roll it out, especially more geared toward our industry and our market, right? To make it an easier one when not only selling on behalf of FP and selling that product and that equipment, but for you on your own, for any dealer, for anybody that can go out, that should be another very large market that, well, let's be fair, isn't going away anytime soon.
So you're very much playing in the digital transformation era. You're very much part of it. It'd be ill-advised for anybody to think otherwise.
No, and a little touch into the IoT area as well. As the devices we have, the mail machines as a whole are run by a PSD. It's called a postal security device. The encryption level we have to have on that, we have and will continue to license out to other big players in the shipping space or the online web shop space that have picked us up, and we license that technology out for, well, IoT security.
So, Tim, if I could switch gears just a little bit, listening to what Michael is talking about with FP mailing, Obviously, you've been a BTA board member and BTA member for a long time. How do you see the current BTA environment and attitude? Are the BTA members seeking new products or new relationships like Michael's basically sharing? Is that a growing attitude that you see improvement?
I would say absolutely every BTA dealer is looking for an alternate revenue source. I know a lot of us experienced a decline in clicks when COVID hit, kind of accelerated some trends that were already starting. Um, However, ours have come back in almost every category, with only one exception, which is nonprofits and really faith-based. We've seen that click rate stay down, not where it was previously, but it has not completely recovered. But I would say most of our other verticals have started to recover. So, but the reality of it is we need to diversify our offerings to our customers. If we come across just as a copier printer dealer, we're not going to make it long. You have to be more than that. They need those things, and those things aren't going away. But if you can't offer M&S, managed network services, if you can't offer document management, so these, I think the dealers are all looking at these things. For them, FP is probably the simplest to get into because the expertise level, it doesn't require dramatic training and all the stuff and the huge investments that have to go along with M&S and even document management to do it right. And if you do all those and production print, think about that. A lot of the BTA dealers, the average BTA dealer has 20, the average dealer has 20 or less employees. So if you think in those terms, you know, they needed something that's affordable for them to step into, that the reps can learn quickly, that accomplishes a diversified revenue stream, and that gets them up to speed and get it going without draining the bank as you do it. And this fits perfectly. Now, I think that a lot of them are looking. I don't think a lot of them understand it as much, but now Michael just said he's got 160 or so dealers and 70% are BTA members. So clearly the BTA guys are looking and they're making the moves. And I talked to another one just recently that took on mailing, and Michael, it happened to be your competitor, but he took on mailing. So we should have, if I'd have gotten to him earlier, we could have probably talked him into something different. But anyway, it is clearly happening. And so got to hustle to get away from us.
No, no.
So
We
I'm
come to
gonna
them all. We enjoy the event, the camaraderie, and having everybody around. So, I mean, it's always a good time to do a BTA event.
That's right.
Yeah, and don't forget, you got ECS in January too. So
Right.
Yeah,
yeah, we'll be seeing
definitely.
you there.
We'll be
So
there.
partnerships are so important. And I was at actually a CDA meeting, Tim, not too long ago, a few weeks back, and a couple of the folks, the dealers, were talking about culture, and the importance of partnerships. And then there were a few people who were talking about old school, and there was a sort of not negativity, but sort of a statement of don't be old school, don't be old school. And my personal feeling is, to me, old school means everything. So it means you should know if you're of age, mature, whether it be your business or yourself. Old school means to me, what not to do, right? It means I've lived that, I've experienced that. I don't want to do those things. But some of the folks were talking about old school in the context of partnerships aren't as important as they used to be. The handshake is not as important as it used to be. And to me, that's almost, you could be arrested in my family for thinking those things, right? In my family, handshake is everything. And those partnerships and relationships, if they're of value, and meaning they're real and deep and true, then you nurture them as if they're gold. So, to me, this is where I think we need ambassadors like both of you to continue to espouse the importance of partnerships and culture. So along those lines, do you agree with what I just said, Mike and Michael? And what's the culture of FP Mailing? What are you trying to push out there for your folks and your clients?
So our big theme that we kicked off at the beginning of this year and even have been pushing throughout this entire year and will continue it probably well into next year as well is it starts with us, right? Because a lot of times people say, oh, that this is coming up, there might be an issue here or something there. We can't always ask somebody else to fix themselves if we're not willing to look in first, right? So it was a big thing on our side, especially coming out of COVID and everybody working from home. We had a really great culture. All of our groups are set up in pods, so everybody was close, low cubes, making sure they could get a resolution, set up everything, and then everybody went home for a year. And trying to bring everybody back, nobody wanted to talk to each other anymore. So that changed the dynamic, and we had to kind of reset, bring everybody back, and it does. It has to be us first. Don't push back out to somebody else. Fix us first. Make us be better, because then we are then the better partner, right? Because that having everybody here, we're just outside Chicago in Addison, Illinois. That's the main office for North America, and every employee, with the exception of the few field sales, are all in this building. Having everybody together so we could do events, see everybody get into something, react quickly, is a big, big proponent for us, because we do want to be the better partner. Everybody is here. When you call into us, Tim will probably get these same people that he can reach. I am not unreachable for anyone. That is, we have to be that way, because as you're saying, Mike, the partnerships, they matter. Otherwise, it's a transactional business, and we're not in a transactional business. Not like that. No, it is the partnerships. It is the friends you make, the people you meet, and everything else that really helps grow it and make everyone better. So that is the push. It was internally fix us a little bit first in some of our problem areas, but then really to be there for everyone however we need to be.
Well, that's music to my one good ear. So keep doing that. So Tim, how are you feeling about what I shared about old school and culture and all?
Mike, relationships are everything. And you look at, I have people, my own sales team, sales managers, will come to me and say, look, I got to get this deal worked out, and we're having a little trouble with the leasing group. Can you talk to, and I'll know the people within that leasing company to get a hold of, and that deal will go through. We'll get that handled. And it's those relationships that you've built over the years where your word is your bond. People believe in you, they trust you, and I know who I believe in and who I trust. And Michael knows that if we say, yeah, that's good. That's all that has to be said. And I know the same from him. So, and the others will just tell you something, can't do it too. So you learn these things. And our culture here is we didn't let anybody go home. No one had the ability to, we gave people they had the ability to work from home because of daycare problems or school issues where we had to work through things. But we never said the office is closed. They all came into the office. So we didn't want to lose the culture that we had, the relationships that we had with one another. And I'm doing a series of things now where I go around to each one of our departments. There's a lot of branches and different places, and we go in and say, what do you like best about working for Kelly? What do you like least? What do we need to fix? And they all say, we like the people. We love who we work with. We love our company. And, when I've got happy employees, I'll get all the customers I can stand. And that really is what it boils down to. And that's what we have to maintain is a positive, can-do culture. And it's a people business. And if you think we can do it by an email and do it without knowing who I'm talking to on the other end, it ain't going to happen. And we're not going to close as many deals. We're not going to have as many relationships, and we're not going to make them stick anyway. So I firmly believe, I don't know if that's old school, but I do believe it's a relationship, and it's worked for me for a lot of years.
Well, I think it's school. I think that is the lesson that everyone needs to kind of stick to. If you take the handshake and the the eyeballs out of any kind of, even I don't care if it's family or professional,
No question.
something's broken. Something's broken. So I'm with you, Tim. So let's shift out from business a little bit more into business personal. So Michael, you've been doing this for a while now. It's successful. I've always enjoyed our interactions. Who would you say was the most influential outside of family? I don't want to put you in a position where you have to talk about family, but outside of family, who was the most influential person? Who was your greatest mentor? Somebody who just you think of every day. What would he or she do?
So as I was kind of going through college, end of college, coming right out of undergrad, as I was working on a lot of the campaigns, one of these old ward bosses in Chicago, Ralph Caparelli, was probably one of the ones that had pushed the hardest, had taken me in and under very early on, and really kind of threw the support behind and helped believe and push, because that was a crazy young kid at 19 gonna gear up and run for a major office in Chicago, and no, didn't downplay it, didn't push it, helped foster that and push that right on through. So that was probably the biggest. Now, unfortunately, we had lost him several years back, but he was that great first mentor out the box for me.
Wow, that's a great story. And I hope.
Well, no, who wants to back a 19-year-old trying to run for office in Chicago right out of the gate against somebody seated for 20 plus years? Yeah, he was. He took to that well enough. So that was a great push for me.
Good.
And a lot of fun.
Great story. And Tim, how about you? Who was your greatest, you still think of everyday guy or lady who guides your thoughts and your heart?
Well, you say outside of the family, but I worked for my father when I started at 13 years old. But I'm going to leave him to the side because that was family.
I avoided the family too, Tim. It's safer.
There was days. I mean, after he passed away, 2 years later, after I picked up the phone, I thought I was going to call him and ask him a question about something. So, but I would tell you that I started this business with a little company that got bought by a company called Hinkle's. And they'd been in business since 1924. Second generation was running it, but he was 58 years old. And it was Pete Hinkle. And he had two sons in the business, his brother was in the business, and a nephew was in the business. And I would say Pete taught me more about how to treat people, how to work with honor and dignity, how to treat customers, how to be transparent but fair and make a profit and know that it was fair to ask for a profit, and to do things that just set you apart. And so I would say Pete was the very first mentor on how to do business. But then I would tell you that we sold that business and I went to work for Alco Standard and was folded into the Mom Group. And I would tell you T. Hooper taught me how to run a big organization. He taught me how to be accessible to a big organization. He taught me how to measure a big organization and run it. And he gave me a PhD in copiers, I'll just tell you that, and running the business. And whether that was Alco or T, he brought it to me and was able to share it. And I took that and took it right over to Charlotte Copy Data, and we went from 15 to 51 million in 8 years. So, I mean, we did a lot of things based off of what I learned right there. I wouldn't trade anything for either of those two guys.
That's really a great thing that someone can basically guide you to within floor. You know Michael Reardon, I assume, right, Tim? Michael Reardon?
Yeah, I know Mike Reardon real well. Couldn't hear you there.
And you used honor and dignity, and one thing Michael Reardon always left me with great inspiration were two words, elegance and grace.
Right.
And I remember when I was just coming into the business, and he was a young guy, and you're all full of yourself. You want to make sure you got all the technical stuff down. Every copier model, the speeds, and everything else, right? And Michael grabbed me one time and he says, "Look, you got all the right stuff you can read, learn, and do. The stuff that you can't learn, read, and do is elegance and grace. And, every single day of my career, those are two words I think of. Was I elegant? Was I graceful? There's an expectation you're supposed to be honest. You're supposed to be truthful, So, Tim, I'm really glad you brought those two words up, because to me, it's those unspoken things we don't hear enough of. So moving along, I know we're counting down on time here. You guys have been absolutely fantastic. If there were some parting words that you would give the dealer community or partners, what counsel, what advice would you say? Hey, you know what? We're coming into the end of this calendar year. We're going into next calendar year. These are the things I think we need to either get back to or we need to grow. So what advice would you give an independent dealer or a dealer out there? So Michael, I'll turn it to you first.
Well, the first I would say is to look at those other opportunities, if needed, if warranted, and I do believe they are, not just us, but anywhere. As there are, while I don't want to put myself as a secondary or ancillary product, sometimes it is that way, especially depending on the size of the business when it comes to the copier side, but there is a lot there. To get away from just the box moving as a whole as well, and to get to more of the solution sales, that is where we've seen some of the biggest change on our side, is instead of it just being one box pushed out, to really open up and see everything that is in front, it turns a $10,000 sale into a $150,000 sale quickly. So to really broaden the horizons, look at everything that's out there, and is kind of dovetailing into the last bit you guys have said, hold your partners accountable, both good and bad. Celebrate the wins and talk through if there's anything that is not quite working. I mean, we try to do that with everyone, with anyone. We have our dealer council we bring through, but again, as we say, not unapproachable, not unattainable to talk to us, to go through, as it should be with anyone that is your partner. So really it is look at the opportunities and vet who you're working with.
Good advice. And Tim, what would you share with the audience?
We are in a great business, number one. Don't ever think differently. And if you believe that, go ahead and do whatever you need to do to get away from it. It's just like if you don't enjoy your work, find new work. Do something that you enjoy. Life's too short. But realize you're in a good business now. How do you capitalize on it? And there are so many different ways you can. You can diversify your revenue streams. There's a variety of things you can do that fit right into what we already do. But you need to be ready to make those changes. You can't stand still. If you're going to stay and think that I made this money this way and I'm going to keep making it this way, it isn't going to work. Kelly was a typewriter company. If somebody didn't say, we're going to make a change, and we didn't, we'd still be trying to sell typewriters. Let me tell you something, there would be no Kelly. So we know change is inevitable. Embrace that change. Learn to make profit from that change. Realize where your strengths are. Run with your strengths. Bring in ancillary products that can help you where your core products are making the dollars for you. Do it in a way that you can make money. And if you need to, make sure you find mentors out there that can help you do that. Because within BTA, within your with your best practices groups, there's so many different avenues that you've got where you can get help. And make sure you look at all those avenues and get that help. And look, if you're an older guy like me, I've had mentors, and I still have mentors that I look up to. But reverse mentor, look back, because there's some young folks that are coming into this business that can teach you things that you didn't even think about.
Yep.
And don't be afraid to listen to them, as you probably already learned from Jenna. And I learn from my two boys every day. They say, Dad, why aren't we doing it? I said, I don't know why we're not doing it that way. We should. So you've got to be open to the change and to the new thought processes while maintaining your core values and understanding them and growing those too. I guess.
Man, that is one hell of a little speech. I love it.
Yeah.
I really appreciate that, Tim. You get me inspired. So final question, and this one has nothing to do with anything other than I'm curious. Your favorite Frank Sinatra song, and if you don't have one, we're gonna have to raise your quota. So so I'm gonna go to Tim first.
New
You
York,
got
New
a
York.
favorite song?
It's his song. I mean, that's what you can't think of Sinatra without thinking of New York, New York. It's a beautiful, great song.
I'm going with you on that one. That's a good one. So Michael, you know who Frank Sinatra is, right?
Wow, 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 wow. That's hurtful almost, Mike. I mean, come on. Not that young.
Oh yeah,
Plus, an
you are.
Italian household too. Growing up, the Hannon's the Irish side, Scacchetti is the mother. So that it did not escape me growing up at all. So,
Awesome.
so
I didn't know that part. That's good.
yeah. No, it's there. Uh, I do like the way you look tonight. Is usually yeah.
That's a
Yeah,
great song.
great
That's a
song.
great date night song. So good picks, gentlemen. So guys, I have to tell you, this has been real fun. Get to learn a little bit about you and as individuals, and certainly about your companies. Honestly, I learned a lot, and I look forward to doing whatever I can to help promote FB mailing, and certainly Tim, BTA, and your dealership and yourself. I'm always an advocate and a fan. I think we have a responsibility to inspire people. And sometimes that inspiration, you find that you can do it in ways that, people might not expect. I was talking with Bob Goldberg not too long ago, and on a motorcycle ride across the country, actually. And every speech that we give, to the dealerships that are giving us, the donations really for the Jillian Fund and all. But we try to inspire just one person, just one, just pick one. Before you leave that meeting, before you end the visit, just imagine if each one of us takes a minute just to inspire one person, and be inspired by one person. And so my little lecture, if I can put it that way, is, I think we have a tremendous responsibility as business people in this industry, just to find a way to keep inspiring people. And, when you listen to people like Tim, I mean, that's just a great little summation. And I appreciate it, Tim. You just inspired me, and I'm going to take that and I'm going to inspire other people. So you guys have a great, great, great day, week, rest of the year. And I'll look forward to seeing you, hopefully, at the Executive Connection Summit in January. And we're going to make sure that we share this podcast with a whole lot of people between now and then. So, gentlemen, thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Mike.
you, Mike.